Welcome back to 1834. Le Bourdonnais is winning 5 games to 3 and he only needs to win 1 more to take this 5th match. Today's guest commentator is Mr Basil Fawlty, adding a touch of class to the proceedings, although he wants to point out from the start that we probably shouldn't mention the war. Anyway, McDonnell starts with e4 and Le Bourdonnais plays c5, the Sicilian. We have f4, McDonnell's favourite Sicilian, and knight to c6. And McDonnell continues with knight f3, now e6, c3 and d5, all very exciting. Basil thinks we're in for a gourmet night of chess. e5 from McDonnell, just pushing on straight through, and f6 from Le Bourdonnais, challenging him on the f-file here. We have bishop to d3, and now queen to b6 from Le Bourdonnais. And McDonnell tucks his bishop back into the c2 square. Now, at this point, they've reached the same position as in game number 6. Le Bourdonnais won that one after 48 moves. He played knight to h6, then knight back to f7, but this time he plays bishop to d7 first, and McDonnell castles. Le Bourdonnais goes for knight to h6, now delayed after one move, and McDonnell notices that the queen is staring straight down this diagonal at his king, so he moves it out of the way. We have bishop to e7 from Le Bourdonnais. He's cleared both sides of his back rank for castling. But for now, McDonnell plays d4 into the centre. Mr Fawlty thinks the hotel inspectors would approve of the c-pawn capturing, but instead Le Bourdonnais pushes through with f5. And again, Mr Fawlty thinks that the d-pawn capturing the c-pawn would be fine, the builders would take care of it, but McDonnell plays a3 instead. We have a5 from Le Bourdonnais and h3 on the other wing from McDonnell. A lot of pawn moves. Did I say war moves? I meant pawn moves. Everything is all right. We have castles on the king side now from Le Bourdonnais. Now the build-up of the pawns in the centre is something of a Waldorf salad, and again capturing with the d-pawn would be fine, but instead McDonnell decides to push g4, which is perhaps a little bit too aggressive. The f-pawn captures, the h-pawn captures back, and capturing with the knight is on, but instead Le Bourdonnais decides to bring his light square bishop up and around the back. Rook to g1 would defend the undefended pawn, but McDonnell wants to go on the attack. He pushes f5 and Le Bourdonnais picks up the free pawn. But McDonnell keeps pushing, but all he's really done is ended up losing another pawn. The bishop captures back here, and McDonnell's got 4 pawns left to Le Bourdonnais' 6. But does he have enough momentum to carry on with his attack? He tries pinning the knight against the king, but Le Bourdonnais just defends it with h5. Queen to d3 from McDonnell, and Basil the Rat points out that this is actually threatening checkmate in the corner, so Le Bourdonnais defends it with queen to c7. Thanks, Basil. However, also notice that if the knight here wasn't defending the h2 square, this would be mate in the corner with the queen to h2 defended by this knight, so McDonnell needs to be careful here. Instead, he carries on with his attack, bringing his bishop up to h6. This is threatening the rook in the corner here, but in the meantime, Le Bourdonnais pushes c4 and attacks the white queen. Notice too here that if the knight weren't pinned by the rook, it would be able to come to f2 and fork the king and queen. But Mr Fawlty says that's fine. The Germans won't be expecting the Queen Elizabeth move, QE2. McDonnell says, what do you mean? Le Bourdonnais is French, and he plays QE2 anyway. Mr Fawlty says, shh, don't mention the Napoleonic Wars or any other more current wars, come to think of it. Bishop to g7 from Le Bourdonnais. The psychiatrist would have a field day here. There's so much tension on the board between the players, in the position, with the commentators. Queen captures e6 is on with check, but instead McDonnell decides to capture the bishop. The king doesn't capture back here. Le Bourdonnais decides to go for the knight. He's taking out the defense of the h2 square, so if the queen captures the rook back, the checkmate is on, so McDonnell can't do this. He decides to capture the knight instead. And of course the pawn captures the rook back. Now from here it's something of a wedding party as both queens get involved with the black king. That's a pawn capture with a check. The black queen blocks, but the wedding is cancelled and the anniversary is called off as both queens come off of the board. Now, unfortunately for McDonnell, this bishop is going to end up getting captured by Le Bourdonnais. He's under attack from the king. He can't come to either of these squares. If he comes to h6, this rook is coming across with a check and picking up the bishop for free. He can't come to this square because, again, he'll get picked up for free. In fact, if he comes to this square, the knight's picking him up and the pawn is capturing back, distancing himself from his fellow pawns and going to be captured very shortly. Furthermore, all of these pieces down here are lumbered with communication problems, and black has a passed pawn here. McDonnell is strung up like a kipper and a corpse, and so he resigned the game. And so, Le Bourdonnais has won match 5, 6 games to 3. Let's give him a crown, well done to him. But, you say, there are still 2 more games to play in match 5 because it's actually the best of 11. And the way gentlemen rolled back in 1834 was to play all of the games, as you well know. So McDonnell will have a chance to gain some consolation points. Join me again next time to see how that goes. Just don't mention the war. I mentioned it once, but I think I got away with it all right. See you again next time.